Julie Boudwin, who covers recruiting for Tiger Details. Of course, this is it is Christmas season, but it literally is like Christmas week for people who follow recruiting, with the early signing period set to crank up on Wednesday. LSU, obviously, with a ton to pay attention to. And we talked to one of the best in the business right now, Julie Boudwin. She's on Twitter at Julie_Boudwin, and you can read all of her coverage, read everything that she's got going on over at Tiger Details. And she joins us now. Good morning. Merry Christmas. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. This is a good way to kick off this incredibly busy week.
It will be. Can you give me an idea what this week is like for you in this business who covers recruiting? Like what will Wednesday morning be like?
That's still to be decided. I'm not sure yet. We're still figuring out where everyone within our site and our network is going to be. I'm sure I'll be plenty of places. I just don't have them all locked in just yet. I mean, last week was crazy for everyone who covers LSU. So these two back-to-back weeks, I'll tell you, as soon as this early signing period is over, I will be on at least a vacation for about a week.
Drinking out of a drink with an umbrella. Julie, cringe level on Walker Howard and Brian Kelly's video. We have discussed it and broken it down tremendously here on the show this morning. What were your thoughts when you saw that video go viral last night?
You know, I saw some sort of sneak peek. I wasn't sure what it was going to be. Like a day before on Instagram, I think Walker might have shared it to his stories, and I saw them standing back to back in that room, and I was like, "What is going on here?" I mean, look, it is what it is. You wanted something to go viral. Your head coach there with his 5-star quarterback, and you know it's gone viral. So if that was the purpose of it, then they succeeded. So. Other than that, I don't really have any other thoughts about it.
How have you heard Brian Kelly received as a recruiter? What has been the word on the trail from him as he has had a chance here to at least start to build the relationships with South Louisiana and LSU recruits?
Yeah, man. When the hire was made, we were talking to some people within our rivals Notre Dame network and just trying to get a feel for how he does things. And some of the first things people said were, he's not the biggest recruiter, he's not out front and center, but when he wants to be and when he turns it on, he's one of the best. And I think that's what we're seeing here. It's crunch time. He knows that he's got to lock in as many possible players to LSU before Wednesday. And he's really turned it on. Everyone that was spoken to has only said, great things about him, whether it's they're surprised by his personality or, he's just very engaging and they love his plan. I spent a few minutes with him last week on Friday at the coaches clinic in New Orleans. I watched him work the room, talk to the coaches. There were a lot of people there that were excited to meet him and just get a chance to talk to him. And he's very engaging. And when he is talking to someone, he gets his undivided attention to that one person and that one person only. And so you can see that the man obviously is successful and he knows what he's doing. And that's what we're hearing from parents and recruits.
Obviously, he shook the college football recruiting world up last week when he hired a sitting head coach and brought back Frank Wilson to LSU. What was your reaction to that news, and what type of impact do you expect Wilson to have on the trail in just a short time in 22 and then to the overall recruiting department of LSU football?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whose idea that was, but it was genius, and that person may even deserve a raise. That was a genius move. Frank is one of the best. Everything that you've read, seen, heard about him, absolutely true. And that's what Brian Kelly needed coming in. He didn't have those ties to Louisiana. And you needed someone who can go anywhere in the state and have those high school coaches and those recruits know who he is. I think it's going to pay dividends in the long run. We're already seeing, he's already, developed a relationship. He's got relationships with Shaz Preston and that family. He's got relationships with Jacoby Matthews and that family. And, it's going to pay off, whether it's this signing class or next year's signing class. I mean, we'll have to see, but I do think it's going to pay off in the long run. He's also a really excellent talent evaluator, which is something that maybe LSU's been missing on the last few years. I mean, we saw Landon Ibed get an offer. We saw Jordan Allen get an offer. I mean, these were guys that maybe should have had offers months ago, from the previous staff. So it didn't take him long to come in, and Kelly to come in, and this new staff to come in, reevaluate some things. And I think we'll see a lot of that moving forward.
Julie Boudwin, she's on Twitter at Julie_Boudwin. If you're not following her already, make sure you hit that follow button on the social media, because this will be a very wild and crazy week, of course, dealing with recruits. You brought Ibed up, and he's somebody who has been monitored a lot by recruiting fans. He's down at Mandeville, a senior wide receiver, a game breaker, really, Julie, when you look at his numbers and his capability that he has on the game and on film. He's been a Miami commitment. He was here at LSU this past weekend. Where are you hearing his news trending here as the early signing period creeps in on us?
Yeah, it sounds like it's between those two schools. I think he'll take a day or two and make a decision. I interviewed him just to get a feel for things after the offer on. I think I talked to him on Friday when he was heading up to Baton Rouge, just to pick his brain, see where he's at, and he was saying that it seemed like every school that he had an offer from had some sort of coaching change. And I mean, this coaching season, this football season's been wild for coaching changes and that sort of stuff. So he was really just saying he wasn't sure. And prior to the LSU offer, he wasn't going to visit anywhere this weekend. I think LSU is a really good shot. This is a kid that grew up watching LSU. He loved Patrick Peterson. That was his favorite player growing up. And I mean, you can say it was his dream school. This is a kid that the LSU staff is very familiar with. You mentioned that. He's been at their camp. Personally, I thought he should have had an offer back in June after that showing that he had at that particular camp. But for whatever reason, the previous staff was reluctant to pull the trigger, so to speak. So I think this is one that was a long time coming, and I'm happy for him and his family. I know that it's going to be a difficult decision for him. I mean, Miami is still coming after him. Mario Cristobal is still reaching out. So we'll see where it goes, but I feel like LSU has a legitimate shot in landing him, and I think he's personally a game breaker. Like you said, I think he's a kid that I'm not saying he's going to start his freshman year, but I think no matter where he's going to be, whether it's LSU, Miami, or anywhere else, I do think he will see the field early.
I agree. Julie Boudwin here talking about the Mandeville standout wide receiver in Landon Ibed, who had picked up an LSU offer last week, and it'll come down the stretch here in a fight between Miami and LSU to see who he signs with in the early signing period. I think two surprises over the weekend, Julie, to see on LSU's campus was Quincy Wiggins and Kendrick Law. I think both of those guys are very high-end players and high on LSU's board, and has been throughout their entire recruitment. How much ground has Kelly, Wilson, and crew been able to make up? We saw Saban up meeting with Kendrick Law last week. We know that Alabama has made an impact on Wiggins at Madison Prep as well. Where do you feel those two recruitments stand here about 72 hours out?
I feel about Quincy Wiggins. I have for some time now. He's really close friends with Emory Jones. He's really close friends with Mason Smith. And not always that makes a difference or not, but when you have guys like that in your ear, trying to get you to stay home and stick with them, I mean, it means something. And we also have seen this new staff make him a priority, just like the old staff did. I mean, Wiggins is, for the old staff, he was probably the biggest target left on the board as far as guys that are must-get, guys you have to land. I mean, because they were battling Alabama and Florida for him. And so obviously you want to keep him home. You want to pair him with Jaquelin Roy and Mason Smith and those guys. So I think on Wednesday we see Quincy Wiggins staying home and picking LSU. Kendrick Law is a little bit of a different story. He's really hard to get a read on. He doesn't like to do many interviews. He kind of keeps to himself. He's very humble. He doesn't really play into this whole recruiting thing. He just goes about his business. He could care less about stars and media and anything that comes with recruiting. I do feel like LSU's positioned themselves in a good spot. He wants to play on offense. We'll see. I mean, there's been some talk. I think the new staff, made it known that they also think he could be a star on defense, a star safety, a star. So we'll see how that plays about. I think it would be down to Alabama and LSU for him. And I don't know if we'll know until Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning before everything happens. Like I said, he plays it pretty close to the vest, but LSU did a great job getting him on campus, like you said. I mean, that in itself is a win to get him on campus days before he's going to sign.
What do you think happens with Citizen, Trevante Citizen, the one-time LSU committed running back from West Louisiana, from Lake Charles area? It seems like Frank Wilson made a stop in to him right when he was hired, and that they were able to have some good conversations with him over the weekend. I know that he was not in Baton Rouge, but there's it seems like the communication's been going well. What do you think happens with Citizen?
Yeah, I think there's, even prior to the Frank Wilson hire, I think there was always a chance that you get him back into the class, depending on if he was going to sign this upcoming week or if he's going to sign in February. He says, I texted with him last night, he says he's going to wait till February. Part of me is also wondering if LSU is pushing to try to lock him in this week. I don't know if we'll know that until we get a little bit closer. I mean, he's somebody that they need, man. I mean, that's a position of need for them, and he's a game breaker as well. I mean, he's being sought after by Auburn. Auburn's coming at him off really hard. When he decommitted, it was coming off a visit to Auburn. So, and then obviously at Florida with DeLuke now and Billy Napier over there in Florida, so they're also coming at him. I would think it's between those three schools. I really feel like LSU has get him back in this class, which would be huge. I mean, it's like I said, it's a spot of need for the Tigers moving forward.
Julie Boudwin, make sure you're following her on Twitter. You can keep up with the information at Tiger Details. She is also the video producer for Bayou Video Productions, which produced the Mason Smith documentary, going through his process last season. If you're a recruiting buff and like to keep up with it, it is a must-watch if you're looking for that. Interesting names on campus this weekend. Austin Asbury. I know that Jaden Asbury is very much being looked at. The younger defensive back over at University High is probably going to be a 5-star when the grades come out. But Austin's always been a very solid player for the Cubs and has picked up offers all along the way from schools like Notre Dame, Michigan, LSU. Where do you see his recruitment? I thought it was a surprise to see him on campus this weekend.
I mean, it was big. I interviewed him late last week, and he was just talking about how important it was going to be to kind of get in front of Brian Kelly and Harry Cooks and kind of just get a feel for their plan, how they would want to use him, see if he feels like he would fit into that. For a while, it seemed like he was leaning Florida. He really liked that previous Florida staff. And then obviously their coaching change happened. And then lately there's been a lot of talk about Auburn, and they're coming at him very hard. I mean, I think in the last 2 weeks, Auburn visited him twice. Their depth chart is not, it's friendly for a player like him. You know, he could go in and maybe see the field right away as a freshman. So he is announcing today at U-High at 12:45.
Wow.
So, this is not one that anybody's going to have to wait long to see where he's going. We'll find out today. And there's still some positivity coming from that Auburn side of things. So we'll see what happens a little bit later today, right around lunchtime.
Julie, last one. We'll get you out of here. I know it's a very busy time for you. Thank you for stopping by and joining us. One of the recruitments that has been interesting here during this cycle has been Harold Perkins. Big 5-star linebacker. Seems like he has been in love with LSU. His uncle may be the biggest character in recruiting, Uncle Al. We are trying to get Uncle Al on the show. But Texas A&M seems like they've been a player the entire time. Elko now at Duke. Where do you kind of see things trending for the 5-star linebacker and Harold Perkins?
I was about to ask you. I was wondering when you mentioned Harold's name if you had his uncle on. Please let me know.
Not yet.
The day that you schedule him. I would love to listen to that.
I will.
Harold is another one that is. You really can't line him up for an interview or get him on the phone or anything like that unless you can catch him in person. I definitely would say that it's between A&M and LSU at this point, but I also think it's one of those things where because we don't know what the situation with Blake Baker is going to be going forward, this one might be a little trickier for LSU to pull off. He's not announcing until early January at whatever one of the All-Star games he's going to be playing in. So I'm assuming he's not going to sign until February unless he pulls a Tristan Lee and signs and doesn't tell anybody. But I feel like right now it's A&M. We've heard a long time ago that his mom wanted him at A&M, but there is those ties to LSU, and LSU has definitely made him a priority. They've had several coaches visit him. He's been to Baton Rouge more times than I can count. I couldn't even tell you exactly how many times he's been. Because he is from New Orleans and he has those connections to LSU, and he calls it his home school, and he loves LSU.
Come on,
so I think we'll have to wait and see how things play out after this week. We kind of reevaluate after this, see where things stand, look at the classes, look at A&M's class, look at LSU's class, see what the depth charts are going to look like, and then see if how much also going to Duke does that affect him? Does that matter to him? And then also when we may or may not find out what's going on with Blake Baker, I think that's going to play a big role in it as well.
You heard it there, Uncle Al. The people want it. They want the interview. Julie wants to hear it. We want to be the ones that publish it. Somebody knows Uncle Al who listens to this program. Get it in his hands. We want him on. Julie, this is the last one. I lied. Jacoby Matthews, update there?
Yeah. Say that again?
An update on Jacoby, on just kind of on the transition where he stands going into this week. Have you heard any news?
I feel better about Jacoby the last few weeks, and then the Frank Wilson situation has definitely helped. There's a lot of respect. Like I said, Frank Wilson he's huge for the program, and the respect that his name carries within the state and with these families, and everybody knows his history and his recruiting. Jacoby is coming off the championship loss. We'll see who else comes after him. He's not going to sign and announce until February, so LSU still has some time. Frank Wilson has some time. But I'm sure there's going to be some other schools, an A&M, maybe a Florida with Napier and Corey Raymond, I would definitely think are going to be in the mix. So we'll see where things stand. But as of right now, LSU's in a good spot with him. And I've always felt that even when he decommitted, that there was always a really good chance for them to reel him back in at the end.
One of our listeners is asking where they can find the Mason Smith documentary. Is there a link that I can drive people to?
It's on our Tiger Details YouTube channel. If you go to it's just Tiger Details on YouTube, and if you once you find the channel, if you search Mason Smith, you'll see. I mean, I followed him for a year last year, so there's plenty of things, whether it's interviews or the documentary or just like workout sessions. It's all there if you search his name on our Tiger Details YouTube channel. It's
incredible insight. It's a great documentary. It's great production. Julie Boudwin, who's over at Tiger Details and a recruiting insider, joining us here in what is going to be a incredibly busy week. Thank you for starting it with us. We will be in touch.